So again, even if you have that, you're still trying to make Mercury happen the best it is. You're trying to make each planet work the best it is. If you, wherever Uranus is, you're having to try and find your freedom or your excitement in that sign, in that house. And as you're doing it in that sign, that house, those affairs will naturally disturb the Mercury in its sign, in its house, if it's a stressful aspect. And you still have to work each planet as best you can in that sign house. You still have to make the opposition happen, because you need both sides working, and as both sides are working and both sides are improving, that stress factor is going to increase too. It's not wrong. It's just a special way of working. So someone with a Mercury Uranus might have trouble really getting anything done in a big office where everybody is noise and everybody's around there, they can't think straight. But another person might have that, and they're so wired, they could be afraid of being alone, like not wanting to be alone. But this restless nervousness of taking ideas and reading into the importance of it and talking about it so fast that other people don't think it's real, don't listen the same way. Okay, overly excitable. So if you have a kid with a Uranus to Mercury, you're not going to give him sugar or her sugar. You're not going to give them Coke or that. You're going to really cut down on it because they're already overhyped, hyper restless. It's one of the factors that we're working to hyperactive, because it makes the mind go so fast, it can't slow down and be patient. If you have a Saturn difficult aspect and a Uranus difficult aspect, one is that excitable area that can't calm down is there, but the Saturn is working to put the brakes on it. And there's just a fight between the two, between what I want to do and what Dad wants me to do. My dad wants me to be a hockey player, and I don't want to play hockey. I just want to figure skate. Opposite side of things. So this excitement can be very simple little ways, but it's still, the other planets generally are going to destabilize the inner planets as they hit them. So this is going to be hard to be consistent in thinking, difficult to study consistently. For long-term things, it's easier to break away. Venus to Mercury. If you don't have the square, then there's just, you don't have that need to break away. There's an easier way of thinking. Excitement doesn't disturb you that much. It's there. You know, it's not a complex. So when there's a stress factor, out of all the aspects that are there, this one, you've got to deal with this lifetime. You deal with it, it evolves, the soul grows. Next lifetime, you don't have to deal with it. You don't deal with it, you run away from it, you can make it worse. Next lifetime, you got it back at you again. So if you believe in other lifetimes, I do. Okay, when you get to Neptune to Mercury, the great romance, the great dream, these are people who have great visionaries. The Neptune lets them see almost anything. They read a book, if there's a, you read some of these books like Dune or some of these really space books of all these layers of things going on in it, and you follow it through, you go, oh wow. They can follow these really abstract thoughts on all sorts of levels. So it's a very good mystical thing. But they can get really bored or spaced out and have trouble focusing their thinking. They can get gullible in their mind, or deceptive, or even dishonest if it's negative. They could try and explain things for this reason or that reason. They'd be minding everyone business. They're gullible in their thinking. It's hard to think clearly. So when you have Uranus, Neptune, Pluto to your Mercury, it's not necessarily your strong suit. There are vulnerabilities you have that make you not fit into the norm, and they're affecting that planet. So with Neptune to Mercury, the gullibility, the over-imaginativeness, the evasiveness, the dependencies, someone having to think for you, you having to think what other people should or shouldn't do, haunted by guilt, all the Neptune factors begin to come in and have an outer effect on the way you think within. And that's sorrow, guilt. So someone with Mercury Neptune might be inclined to speculate, but it's the last thing they should do. When you have that Neptune Mercury, it confuses the mind. It's not, you can see something so clearly, and then it may not be exactly true. But that someone could have that and can work through, instead of writer, they might work with photography and express themselves in other mediums, and it's genius. Special way of doing it. But to be talking around them or close to them, trying to communicate, they're going to be either pontificating, or I'm sure I'm right, and they're going to be pushing their vision out, or they're going to feel very guilty or complicated or confused. So guilt and sorrow can really affect the way you think. So Neptune with Mercury, when you have that, your parents weren't honest when they're born, and how do you know what honesty is? How do you know what clarity is? If you get in the moment, you do, but the minute you get in the moment, all these other things scream out. So I'm going through every aspect. People have one or two of these, and then it stands out. Say, oh, look at that, so how that's working. So Neptune's confusion and temptation and deception and illusion affecting the mind. Wow, anything's possible with that mind. You had an alcohol, you had a drink, or you had it, or you had some drugs, and it's going to really mess with the mind. They're spaced out enough already. It's hard to keep things simple when you're trying to be simple, self-reliant, and usually if Neptune is with Mercury, silence is gold, and don't explain yourself, be quiet. Easy to say. But people, as they go through things in their life, the tendency is they can't rely on their mind because their plans in their mind is easily seduced or deceived. You know, it'd be interesting to see how many cult followers or people within a specific religion or belief or cult had this quality. I mean, it'll be a vaster spectrum, but I'm sure it's kind of a devoted quality, but devoted thinking is a very different thing than clear thinking. And it can sometimes that could maybe work really well. A lot of times I could get into all sorts of codependencies of people expecting you to think certain ways. Trying to express guilt or not show the guilt that you have. That's Neptune on it. Same way, easy to fantasize. You add a few drinks or a couple of tokes to that, and all of a sudden that looks like reality, and it's way away, far away from it. And so when we get to Pluto, the Auditor General of the solar system, the truth of consequences, Pluto's a harsh reality. It's the reality check. Pluto to Mercury, it's a really harsh stress. But really, every aspect of Pluto to Mercury, and even to Mars to Mercury too, in a way, it forces intelligence. But it's harsh. It's like, so Pluto to Mercury, a lot of astrologers have Pluto Mercury aspects. They're looking at what's good or what's bad or what's going on. They can see the difficulty and try and work with it. But there is a tendency to be very harsh in one's thinking, and having to have things real, and lack tolerance for people not being real, or to be, and in a way, it shows like an anger or a fear about talking, or a block about talking. It can be really defensive. Like it can be genius, but it can also be really threatened and oppressed around the Mercury. But they have to prove something with their mind. They have to prove what's true, what's not. If their parents aren't being truthful, oh boy. But if you have the aspect in your chart, it was your parents' transits when you were born, so they had it going on between them at that time too. So there's a harsh need to be truthful and real when Pluto's with Mercury, the stress. And there's a fight when anybody's doing something wrong and you know, but suppose you idealize the police force, you join the police force, and you're glad to be doing the community work to help, and then there's a couple of people on the force where you're having to work with are illegal and doing some rip-off things. You find out about it. Do you tell and then they turn against you, or do you not say anything and you're not being truthful? Those are like power struggles. But I think of Pluto as we're watching the news too much. We're watching the fearful things in the world too much, all the dark things in the world too much. And when someone has Pluto Mercury, they're pulled in to tend to do that. And the fight is to not empower that and to try and get your mind thinking inwardly and trusting your heart again. That's the yoga of it. Okay. I mean, you can take an aspect and talk for 2 hours, going through it, but it's just, I'm not trying to find it. I'm just trying to how I make sense of it and how it works for me and how I use these things. And hopefully I can pass it on to you so you can do the same thing. But what I'm not doing is, in a way, I'm partly doing it, but you're trying to keep Mercury as your alertness, not just make a judgment about the way you think. A person can have Neptune to Mercury and still work very hard to just be alert and not trying to explain things. They can learn not to feed the confusion. And often the Mercury to Neptune aspects make someone more dedicated to help a cause, then it's working well, even if they're over dedicated. Pluto Mercury often is really good for counselors or people walking into dark situations and trying to deal with things truthfully. Uranus is trying to think out of the box and trying to find a different way to go at things. So there's many facets of these going. It's just when you look at someone's chart, you're looking at the Mercury, you're seeing puzzles around it. Now, I don't know, like Carl Jung's chart we looked at, I don't know his, I'm just going to blow this up again. He has his Mercury conjunct Venus in Cancer. But the Mercury's sextile to the moon, so not a bad aspect. That's easy to reflect on the past. The conjunct of Venus, what he wants and what he likes is really going to affect his thinking. But what he wants is affected by Cancer, so it's his thinking. So he wants the home and the family of the moon. And even when he got married, he married a rich woman who would take care of him so he could do his writing. He got established, then he met, and then he was carried. So like you get insights. You can't totally know how someone else thinks, but you can see if there's any puzzle with his. This is a minor aspect, a broken line. If there's any puzzle with his, it was his Mercury Venus, his evaluation of what he wanted. But both his Mercury and his Venus, how he thinks and what he wants, is affected by the Cancer, ruled by the moon, which has a good association to it. So you can see those things, but you have to slow it down and say, well, what does that mean? You have to have the sense of each function. So really, the main work was the planets and signs, planets and houses. And here you're seeing the stress factors added into it. The stress is there, that's normal for that person. They would only see when they're running across other people who have it differently. But as you know the person, you know what's going on, you can begin to read into it and see it a little bit more. But I keep the aspects to use like this, rather than you got this square. So rather than using to judge that the aspect is determining who you are, is to miss the idea of the functioning of each planet. Okay, so next week we're dealing with Venus, attraction, repulsive choices, and you're going to see how much stress is involved in your choices, in your satisfaction, in your contentment. So, okay, so this is, I'm trying to get out of this. I don't see how to do it exactly. There, okay. So next week, that's it for tonight. As soon as I finish, I never said it. I could spend another hour and try and explain it better, but this is what we got. So, okay. Next week's Venus, and I'll talk to you then. And thank goodness my voice is back. Okay. Thanks. Bye.